Can tourism and agriculture develop sustainably in St. Lucia? Well, can we agree just by show of hands that in the 1980s and 1990s, the mainstay of St. Lucia's economy was in fact agriculture? Does everyone agree? Correct. Good. So can we also agree that over the last 20 years, agriculture has been supplanted somewhat by tourism as the mainstay of agriculture? Sadly, certainly for the agriculture sector. Correct? Okay, good. Just don't worry, just two more questions to go. And given that fact, can we also agree that from a developmental priorities standpoint, it would appear that tourism and agriculture have at times been in competition with each other? Okay, so most of you feel that way. Thanks. I'm glad you guys are being honest. I'm a hotelier, but I can take it. So when one looks at the headlines, I just did a quick search of Google News, and when you look at the headlines, when you search for St. Lucia tourism and St. Lucia agriculture, interestingly, there's one that I had on the slide for agriculture. It was talking about whether St. Lucia is ready for marijuana legalization. That seemed to have been, that was actually the first topic, but we're not here to talk about that today. But when you look at the headlines, when you look at the impact of tourism, so if you're not sure, the orange line is tourism's contribution to GDP, and the blue is agriculture's contribution to GDP. So it certainly seems like the two sectors are moving in opposite directions. One is growing and one is not. So it certainly seems that the two are in competition, and perhaps maybe one would say that the tourism sector seems to be prevailing. But does it necessarily need to be that way? I know that there have also been a number of studies about the impact of tourism on agriculture and how the two can work in harmony. But I want you to just indulge me for one more question. I'm wondering if you could just allow me to make a hypothesis, since this is a scientific forum, a hypothesis that tourism and agriculture and farmers and hoteliers are essentially in the same business. Does that sound? No? Nobody wants to send me up? No, nobody wants to send me to the mental hospital for saying that? Okay, good. So, but for those who still didn't raise their hand and have a bit of doubt, let me explain to you why farmers and hoteliers, why essentially I am a farmer. So, we both sell perishable inventory, and you must be thinking that is insane to even talk about that. But right now, as we speak, room 605 at Bay Gardens Beach Resort is empty. It is unsold. Now, as a hotelier, I am not selling rooms. I am selling room 605 for December 11th, 2018. I am selling a room night, as we call it. If that room night is not sold in the next 12 hours, what happens to it? It perishes. It's gone. The laws of physics do not allow me to go back in time and sell room 605 on December 11th, 2018 ever again. Farmers have the same problem. Because our inventory is so perishable, we often find that we are selling towards different distribution channels at different prices. So believe it or not, in the next 12 hours, room 605 at Bay Gardens Beach Resort, which is still empty, notice I've told you that a few times, so help us out here. So the room is still empty. That room could be sold to Virgin Holidays for $100. That's a wholesaler. Virgin is a wholesaler who has a lot of buying power. Does that sound familiar to farmers? It could be sold to someone coming off the ark, a walk-in, someone from one of the yachties for $250. It could be sold to a local for $169. These are not unrealistic rates. We sell at different prices to make sure that our perishable inventory does not go unsold. Now, furthermore, we don't have as much control over our pricing as we'd like. So right now, Virgin Holidays, why are they selling for $100? Because they think that they have the ability to tell me what price my room can sell at. I am going through this problem right now with our newly opened Marina Haven, the former Palm Haven Hotel, where we have a wholesaler who's trying to tell me that if I don't sell to him at the price that he wants to sell it, that he wants me to sell it to him at, that he's going to take me out of the program. Not an easy decision for a small hotel at the mercy of the large wholesalers. So honestly, we're a lot more alike than we think. And when I say that there's opportunity for us to work together in harmony, that is a great understatement. Now, I know that there have been a lot of studies, so I'm not going to go into detail on these. I'm just going to leave them here for you. But there are a lot of studies that have been done regionally and internationally that espouse the benefits of tourism and agriculture working together. You've been hearing it for a long time, probably before some of us in this room were born, certainly myself. But what I'm going to do, again, these are CHTA studies and other studies done by the World Bank. So on the local level, what makes our linkages program at the SLHTA a little bit different is that it's private sector driven. And when I became president of the SLHTA, an office that I held up until July of this year, I told our then and now again CEO, Mr. Noorani Aziz, that this agri-linkages thing that I've been talking about when I was not president, not only is it going to be one of my priorities, it's going to be on my top 3 hit list day in, day out. Now, why am I so interested? I'm not in the farming business, well, not directly anyway, right? I'm not involved in agriculture, but I know that there's tremendous potential. And one of the things that we saw is that when we looked at it, there's about 15 million EC dollars worth of crops that can be produced locally. So I'm not talking potatoes, I'm not talking onions, although you can grow them locally, can easily be produced locally that are being imported directly or indirectly by hotels through distributors. So there's a big opportunity. The other thing we were able to uncover is we were able to debunk this myth that farmers are not able to produce at the price that hotels want. That's absolute nonsense. In fact, by the time you factor in duties and shipping and other costs, it's actually cheaper to buy local than to buy from, to import. Although I have found the cost of the imported produce seems to be going down of late, I'm totally sure this is as a result of the competition provided by the farmers of late. But generally speaking, the farmers can compete on price. The other thing is that the price is right in the other direction because hoteliers can actually, farmers, okay? Remember we spoke about different distribution channels? Well, think of the supermarkets as the farmers' virgin holidays and think of the hotels as the farmers' yachty coming off the ship, paying the maximum price. Because we pay a lot more. I know it anecdotally because when I go in a supermarket, I look at pineapples, I see it retailing for less than my cost. Okay? And then when we did a study from the Economic and Social Review, we saw that in fact hotels were paying about 60% more for produce than farmers, than supermarkets, sorry. So there's a tremendous opportunity there. There's an opportunity for the farmers to make more money and for us to save money. Quality. Honestly, folks, is not even close. Our guests notice when we have local produce versus imported produce. Don't ever let anyone tell you that our farmers do not produce quality compared to what is from overseas. Certainly not in the tomatoes and all of these other crops, and certainly pineapples, any fresh fruit, substantially better when you select it locally. That's been proven over and over, and it's not just 1 or 2 farmers, it's several of them that have learned how to produce to the quality and the standard that we want. It's the consistency that's the issue. Lastly, and this is really the crux of the matter, TripAdvisor, I'm sure you know of them, they're a big travel review site. Everybody looks at TripAdvisor before they choose a hotel. TripAdvisor has done a study that showed that contrary to popular belief, when a guest comes to a destination like Saint Lucia, they don't come here to have apples and grapes. They don't. They will want to have some, okay, they'll want to have some of what they know, but generally speaking, more than 70% of American guests especially look to expand their palate when they come here. They want to experience our local culture. They want to experience our local experience. They want authenticity is becoming not just a buzzword, it's becoming absolutely essential for a hotel. And the food is a big important part of that. So quite frankly, hotels who are not able to supply that on a consistent basis to their guests are actually at a disadvantage. And that's something I want to spend a little bit of time on. The Virtual Agricultural Clearinghouse, our linkages program, it's not a charity case. It's not a community relations or public relations stunt. Okay? Although, of course, we get some good PR out of it, and of course, there are benefits to the community. This is two segments of the private sector. Farmers who are business people, they're not hobbyists, they have serious business people, and hoteliers who are also serious business people, realizing that we can accomplish more by working together for our own mutual survival. Because culinary tourism is a real thing, and we have to get with it. And those who are able to get that, they reap the benefits. So with that in mind, about 2 years ago in 2016, the SLHTA launched the Virtual Agricultural Clearinghouse. Now, why virtual? Why not a real clearinghouse? Well, there are many who wish, including ourselves, that we had a real clearinghouse, a real storage facility. So we don't have a real clearinghouse, but we do have these. Okay? We have these. We have our smartphones, and so do the farmers. And we also have the only agri-linkages liaison officer in the Caribbean. We are the only HTA in the Caribbean who has a dedicated agricultural and now general linkages liaison officer. That has been noticed in Jamaica, it has been noticed in Barbados, it's now being copied in other islands. So the reason we call it a virtual agricultural clearinghouse is because our linkages liaison officer, Donette, her job is primarily to manage 2 WhatsApp groups. She's got a group with farmers who are telling them what they have and when it's becoming available. And she has a group with hoteliers and restaurateurs who feed them her information on what they need. Because that is the main problem with agriculture and tourism, the information asymmetries, the fact that the farmers don't know what we need and we don't know what they have. So things go to waste and we end up importing it. That is the fundamental problem that we have and have been able to resolve quite successfully through the agricultural linkages program. So 2 years later, we've been quite happy and to be honest, even a little bit surprised with some of the results. So, okay, these are just some photos of the linkages program and some of the work we've done over the last few years. So currently we boast 20 plus hotels and restaurants and even some distributors. Even Trans-Caribbean is on our virtual agricultural clearinghouse platform. They are now using our platform to source local produce to then sell to hotels. We've got over 400 farmers, including many farmers groups, length and breadth of the island, north, south, east, west. Every single part of the island has some farmers who are on our platform. Most importantly, in the first year, we've generated over $1 million EC worth of annual sales. That's direct sales that would have gone overseas that are staying in our local communities. That's purchases that we've been able to measure, never mind what we've not been able to determine. So we've been very happy with that. It's also won acclaim from the World Travel and Tourism Council and awards from the Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association. But as good as that makes me feel and makes us feel, nothing makes us feel better than the actual reviews that we have been getting from farmers who are part of the program. So if I could just have the sound man play this YouTube video. That was from the world. It's just about 2 minutes. I'll give you a break from listening to me for a while.
The Virtual Agricultural Clearinghouse was created in 2016. We tried to keep the VAC very simple by using a WhatsApp platform. We created a group with the purchasing managers of the various hotels and a separate group with the 400 or more farmers that decided to participate in the program. It has had a huge economic impact on Saint Lucia, where we have tourism dollars going right back into the pockets of the local farmers.
This is my farm here. I plant in cantaloupe, honeydew, watermelon, seasoned pepper, okras, pawpaw. This VAC system is a good thing for me because I sell in my thing direct to the hotel. The hotel give me a better price more than the supermarket.
I'm a fair trade farmer and I'm also a pineapple farmer. My pineapples I sell to the hotel in Saint Lucia. Because of VAC, I'm able to expand. I've grown to about 90,000 plants. It has helped me grow my business and also financially I'm more stable now.
I know for Bay Gardens Resorts, it has really changed our fortunes. We were not even aware of the amount of local stuff that was out there until that platform is very easy to use, very, very easy. Everybody has a phone, everybody's on WhatsApp, so that information is always at the tip of your fingers. Our executive chef works on property smiling now because, you know, he could manage his food costs, he could prepare his menus long in advance, knowing that what's available, how soon it's gonna be available.
One of the things we always felt at the SLHTA was that there didn't need to be competition between tourism and agriculture, that the two could actually work together in harmony. A lot of people assumed that a lot of the things we import would actually have costed more to purchase locally than to bring in from overseas. But when you factor in costs such as storage, import duties, and freight costs, that it was actually cheaper getting fresh produce locally.
In the first year, I could safely say that we had over $1 million in sales of agricultural produce. We are trying to see how we could start VAC 2.0, which is Try Farms. It is a more sophisticated version of the WhatsApp group. That's why we have recruited 10 students from the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College to assist us in that.
It's really been a great success story. The VAC has been very transformational for a number of farmers on the island who have benefited directly from the tourism dollar through their participation in the clearinghouse. Okay, thank you for that. So don't worry, we're almost at the end. So obviously, Linkages is a very important part of our work at the SLHTA. I continue to chair the Linkages committee at the SLHTA as the immediate past president, and we've actually expanded it now into manufacturing, crafts, entertainment. We basically are trying to broaden it now into other areas to see how we can build better linkages between tourism and the rest of the economy. But agriculture remains our main focus because we see that as the best opportunity to get the tourism dollar into the rural communities. Now, as important as that is, it's not without its challenges. We still have faced and continue to face many challenges that affect agriculture in general, and hence the Linkages program that we're trying to make successful. One of them, of course, is the effects of climate change. It doesn't take a whole lot of rain to put our farmers out of commission, and that's a sad reality that we face on a regular basis, and it seems to come at any time. The payment terms, I know that's a thorny issue. I can assure you not all hotels take 30, 60, 90 days to pay farmers. You've probably heard of that. But we've also formed a relationship with the development bank that allows the farmers to get paid in 24 hours for a very affordable 5% financing fee. There are also infrastructural limitations. So really and truly, the farmers' problems have become our problems at the SLHTA, even if they're not necessarily paid up members, but we almost treat them like they are because this program is so important to us. Access to financing and adequate insurance, that prevents them from scaling up and to meet our demands in the industry. And unsustainable farming practices. Now, I just want to zero in on that a little bit, given the theme of this. Other than culinary tourism, which I explained is such an important trend, another important trend nowadays is wellness tourism. And wellness is not just about getting exercise while you're on vacation. It's not just about yoga and fancy spa treatments that you can't even pronounce. It's also about what you consume while you're on vacation and thereafter. And while some would argue that our farmers' practices are not as unsustainable as perhaps exist in other countries, the fact of the reality is we are not there yet when it comes to organic farming, and we realize that. So while we continue to be focused on building linkages now, at the SLHTA we also have an eye to the future, and we realize that wellness is such an important niche and how important organic farming is to the future of Saint Lucia, not just tapping into that very lucrative wellness industry, but also when it comes to the health benefits for our populace and our employees and all of us as a whole. So with that said, we actually are a sponsor of the Good Food Revolution, as is Jeff, a major supporter of that. And in the first year, in 2016, when we supported it, it actually gave training for 40 farmers who are looking to transition into organic farming. So that to me really is the future and where we're looking to get towards. We're not quite there yet, but we're going to continue to support it because we realize how important it is. So I'm coming to a conclusion very quickly, don't worry. I wanted to say that I hope that we've answered the question of whether agriculture and tourism can grow sustainably and in harmony. They absolutely can, and we're at a stage right now where we have no choice. The economic realities for both of us are such that we have to do it. It's very important that we do it because we are the farmers' best clients when it comes to profitability. We also need to make sure we are keeping with the trends and the demands of the marketplace that are looking for organic, but also just local produce on the whole. So it's certainly in our best interest as hoteliers to continue to support this. And it's very important because it also is the best way to allow the tourism dollar to filter through to communities. Now, they keep talking about trickle down. I so hate that term. Trickle down just seems to take too long. Okay, how can we talk about trickle down when there's a $15 million potential out there that we need to literally flood our communities with that $15 million, not for the tourism dollar to transform those communities, but for those communities to transform themselves using the benefits of that tourism dollar. The potential is there. When I hear stories like Mr. Moses Rene, the pineapple farmer, who said it's changed his life, I know that there's hope, and it fills me with a lot of excitement. So you can be sure that is something we're going to continue to participate in, but we're going to need cooperation from the public sector, from the private sector, from civil society, and from groups such as Jeff, who has been a big supporter of this program, and also, if I'm not mistaken, signed just yesterday, to be signed an agreement with the SLHTA to further our partnership, not just in this project, but in other projects. But at this point, I'm going to pause and allow everyone to ask any questions they may have on this program and on anything else. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon again.
Afternoon.
General Brisbane Fontelio, Plainview Combined School. I'd like to repeat our school's name because I'm only representing them, mouthpiece. I must say that your presentation had me thinking of ecology, geography, again, my passion, and it got me thinking of mutualism. I see this collaboration as mutualism, and I'm happy to say that the trickle down that you mentioned, that I'm happy that the mindset is being changed, that there is no more unilateral, that you from top to bottom and bottom to up, and I must say kudos. And in the previous presentation, I had a question, but I was not able to ask it, but you made mention of agriculture and the organic farming, and it had me thinking about soil testing, and I remember you on your pesticide, right? Can we get the lands certified after you've tested? I know previous lands were used, pesticides were used on lands previously, and we are not totally there organically, but can we test the soils, and when the levels have decreased, can these areas be demarcated and certified to be used only for organic farming? Maybe that's the way forward, to make sure that we are on the right path and then we don't fall back to bad habits. And then if you do not follow these guidelines, then you cannot get funding or you cannot have ownership for the land. At least we can, squeeze a little to make sure that we benefit in the long run and we don't go back to the drawing board. Thank you.
Thank you, and I completely agree. In fact, we were speaking about the same in our planning meeting for this, about designating certain areas, because the fact of the matter is we have farmers who have represented to me as a hotelier that they're organic, but the question I asked them, what about your neighbor? Right? So it is something that will take some time, but I've been told it takes about a year, 2 years. So even in those 2 years, if we could get certain areas designated as certified organic, that certainly would augur well for all of us.
Okay, before I invite the next question, I would probably want to crave the indulgence of Dr. Reynolds Murray to respond to this question about certification of pest-free land, if possible. Pesticides-free land.
Okay, it takes a period, the certification program that I'm familiar with require that your lands be free of pesticides for at least 10 years before they classified you as really organic. However, for us who are in transition process, we can always adjust that time as we move, just that we wouldn't be classified, wouldn't be considered as certified for the international market. But we are moving in that direction. If you don't start at some point, you'll never get there. So we need to start working. The idea of soil testing that you mentioned is very important. I'm sure that the agriculture departments in your country are equipped to do that. The problem is, like you said, they need to have a zone that is demarcated. So if you are doing it and your neighbor is not doing it, you never become, because there's the pesticide drift, the problem you'll have. Additionally, when you're doing your farming and your neighbor is not doing it, it compromises the quality of your product. And then the land use plan that was mentioned, if the government, the land use authority, don't designate the area, who can? You can't just say this is an agriculture zone and no pesticide here. That has to come from a higher authority. So.
Okay, I recognize 4 hands so far. I'm coming to you, Laura. This lady here, Nicole, 1, 2.
Hey, good morning, and that was a really good presentation. My name is Tashika Haynes. I'm from St. Vincent with the Small Grants Program. So when I listened to your presentation, we have very similar circumstances. I wanted to ask, how long did it take to actually get the farmers and the hoteliers to collaborate to really, get on the same page to say, hey, this is going to work for us? How long was that turnover process? That's my first question.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you want me to answer that one? Right.
So
okay. So in 2015, somewhere is either the end of 2014 or early 2015, we started off the process, and this was prior to me being president. We started with an agricultural symposium where we brought, must have been 70, 80 farmers together in the same room as hoteliers to start to get a feel for what the issues are. Why are we not doing more business together? And of course, a lot of it were things we knew about, payment terms, reliability of supply, not knowing what's available. But we presented a lot of the information to the farmers. And I think I became president in February. So we had already been doing the background work. And it launched within a few months, right? Within a few months. The good thing is technology is a great equalizer. So while we have this tri-farm platform, which is a little more sophisticated, the WhatsApp platform was simple. Okay, so it really did not take us that long. I'd say about a year of consultation, and then when we decided to go with it, within a few months, we were able to see results.
Okay, good. And my second question was on the pesticide side. Are you collaborating with the Ministry of Agriculture to do any testing of products? Because I know, well, I used to work in banana back in the day, and we would have a lot of good farmers, but then we would have the one or two who would just sneak in really bad produce and so forth. Yep. So in an effort to kind of protect that trust between the farmers and the hoteliers in terms of knowing that you're not only getting fresh produce, but you're getting produce that is free of pesticide residue and stuff like that, because we're moving towards organic. Is there any arrangement? Have you had that sort of thing with the ministry?
So we are collaborating with them through our support of the Good Food Revolution program in collaboration with GEF. We are supporting it, and we are always in discussion with them, because there are some hotels that, quite frankly, were reluctant to get onto the VAC program because of that same issue. Right? So it took a bit of convincing to get them on board when we showed them that, yes, we are supporting the Good Food Revolution, we are supporting organic farming. But the level of collaboration can only be at a high level. Like we don't get in and we don't test the soils ourselves. We have to rely on the ministry to do their part as well, to allow us to get there.
Yes, sir. Yes. My concern is a little bit of a concern I have, and I'm wondering how we will address it. You made mention how the hoteliers, so to speak, pay a lot more for the produce than the local market. Mm-hmm. Now, to me, that creates a problem. The demand right now, subject to correction, is even higher than supply. Now, it means that if the hotels will buy all that the farmers can produce right now, where does it leave the local market? Because obviously the farmers will sell where they get more revenue for their produce. So where does that leave the population at large where food is concerned?
Okay, and that's a good question, and something that was brought up. If the farmers met all of our demands, would there be anything left? But the fact of the matter is there's so much land that has not been put to use as yet. So when you say the demand exceeds the supply, yes, in a sense, but it does not exceed the potential supply. Right? There's a lot of land that is not being put to use. There's a lot that can be produced, right? There's no shortage of land to produce the amount that's needed to supply everything that is needed for the hotel industry locally, everything that is needed for the local populace, and to export, right? It's for us to take advantage of what is there right now. But it's a fair point, though.